We are here at Elvi Farms in upstate New York with Farmer George. And with that, I'm going to pass it off for George to welcome you to the farm.
Okay, how's everybody doing this morning? Have any of you been on a dairy tour? I see a couple raising your hands. That's great. So you could be my assistant tour guide, help answer some questions as we go along. I want to certainly welcome you to Elvi Farms. It's an honor and a privilege that you would take time out to join me and allow me to share what I'm very passionate about. Our farm was started in 1953 by Elmer and Viola Peck. And since then, we've been working very hard for many, many years to take really good care of the land. We consider that a responsibility in our community, and also to care for our cows and make them comfortable and content. And then thirdly, what we're most passionate about is being able to produce yummy dairy products, fresh milk, yogurt, and cheese that I'm sure you all have come to enjoy and love. So we're going to start this tour in our what we call the Milking Parlor. Come on in and get close. Don't get too close. We don't want you to slip and fall. So this is one of the most important areas. As you can see, we just exited a group of cows. I wanted to point that out. We have about a 10-minute routine. It takes about 10 minutes from the start to the end when we load the parlor, prep the udders, attach the milking machine. Takes about 7 minutes for the cow to milk out. And then we post-dip the udder and we exit the group of cows. And that's kind of when the next group of cows starts coming into the parlor. So as you can see, and on the right front leg of every cow, they have a cow transponder. So that's something you can see as these cows are coming into the parlor. And what this is very similar to a Fitbit that a lot of athletes wear, because our cows are like high producing and high performance athletes. And we really want to focus on exercise and the health and wellness and rest of our animals. And all of the information on production is sent to the computer and collected with this cow transponder, which is the same thing as a Fitbit that people would wear. And you can see on this side of our parlor, you can see the milk coming down. These cows are producing milk, and they produce about 2.5 pounds per minute. So the milk flows very rapidly. And we can look up here, and this cow has 51 pounds. That's the pounds of milk that this cow has produced. And that would be about 6 gallons of milk. So the average cow on our farm produces about 10 gallons of milk per day. We milk 3 times a day. This milking parlor is a double 20 parallel parlor with electronic milk meters and automatic cow identification. So it's kind of a computerized, high-tech, rapid exit milking parlor, which you'll see on any modern dairy farm today. So let's move towards the back of the parlor, and we'll show you the holding area where the cows wait to be milked. Now we'll notice as we're going, if you can get close, we are doing our prep routine on the side that came in. So we have to properly clean the udders and the teats. We use a disinfectant foamer. We can get a close-up of this, and you can see that foam in that cup. And foam is one of the best ways to clean the udder. And then you can see we're using a microfiber towel, which does the best job of cleaning the udder and cleaning the teats, because it all starts with the quality of the milk that we harvest. And then the last step in the milking routine is to attach the unit. So you can see that we're putting the milker on the cow's teats. And cows love to be milked. It's a very comfortable, natural, and gentle process. The milking machine is a gentle pulsation which removes the milk from the udder. And cows like to be on a schedule. They like to stay on time. So just like you have time periods for lunch so that not all the school classes go to the lunchroom at the same time, you kind of take turns so you don't have to wait a long time. That's what we do here on the dairy farm, as we bring groups of cows to the milking center to be milked. And we bring them one group at a time so they don't have to wait very long. So we can, this is all the same group. And these cows here, as you can see, are patiently waiting to be milked. They're all lined up. They love to come in and get milked. And it takes about 40 minutes to milk a group of cows. Our milking parlor is a double 20, which we can milk 40 cows at a time. Load the parlor 4 times. That equals a group size. And it takes about 10 minutes to milk a parlor full of cows. So the milking process really doesn't take that long. The cows are not out of their pen very long. So we like to make sure the cows have time to eat and drink and lay down. So come with me. Where we're gonna go next is over to what we call the milk cows. So follow me. We're gonna take just a minute, because when the milk is collected from the cows, it gets pumped over to what we call the milk cows. So come on into the milk cows. Watch your step right there. What we do here in the milk cows is we collect the milk, we cool the milk, and we store the milk. And then the milk is loaded onto a trailer and it's transported to a processing plant. You might have some questions as we go along. We do not actually process the milk here at the dairy farm. We have the raw product that is rapidly cooled down. We can show you, this is called a plate cooler or a chiller. So we're able to remove the heat from the milk and cool the milk quite rapidly. You can see the temperature here is already down to 40 degrees before the milk enters the storage tanks. And if we could just come back over here, the temperature is at 38. So we try to cool the milk down to 36 degrees before we load it on the trailer. And I want to show you real quick. Follow me. You see this hose? That's how we pump the milk onto the trailer so that we can take it to the processing plant. So right outside the door is we have our milk trailers that we're loading, and we have a licensed milk pumper and that measures the milk, samples the milk, and loads the trailers. You have to be licensed and registered in order to be able to milk. So these trailers will show up at the processing plant in less than 24 hours from the time the milk is collected from the cows. So the milk is very fresh, very local. It's turned into dairy every day. And we are coming out with new innovative products, wellness, and can also be stored on a shelf without refrigeration. But as a rule, most dairy products have to be refrigerated. Come with me. We're going to travel out to the barn where the cows live.
All right. So as Farmer George is headed out to the barn and he's going to make a couple stops on his way to barn 4, I'm going to answer some awesome questions that we had come in. The first one was, how old are cows when they start producing milk? So the average cow is 24 months when they start producing milk, or 2 years old. But the key is that they have to have a calf before they can start producing milk, because some of you may have started learning in your classrooms that mammals have to have a baby before they can start producing milk, and it's the same with cows. So great question. And then also Farmer George had mentioned a little bit about food safety, and we had a question about how long does it take from milk to get from the farm to your school? About 48 hours. So talk about fast food or speedy delivery, right? And we strive to make sure that milk is as fresh as possible when it reaches your schools. We're proud to do that. And then what is the exact process of food from the milk into the farm to the school? What that looks like is it gets loaded on those tanks, heads to the processing plant, gets bottled, and then heads right to your school or store. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Another question we had come in is, do they clean the milk after it comes out of the cow? We do pasteurize the milk to help kill some of the germs and anything that could get in it. So essentially what we do is we heat up the milk and then cool it down before it's served. Oh, and it looks like Farmer George is back and he made a stop at the foot baths.
Right, so I just wanted to point out, this is the cow traffic lane where the cows exit the milking parlor. We have the return lanes over there, each side of the holding area. And then the cows go single file through a foot bath, which is a disinfectant for hoof health. And then the cows get automatically identified as they go through this sort gate. We have an antenna here, and we mentioned the cow transponders where the cows get identified, and then we can automatically sort cows out for herd checks so that we can do a health and wellness exam on certain cows for certain days. And that's one of the things we're doing right today. We are sorting some cows for a health check, and as we move out to the barn, we're switching groups right now. So the cow pusher is going to be coming out to get the next group of cows. So our timing is very perfect. We will be able to get out ahead of the cow pusher We'll follow these cows back to their pen, and we will be able to see the cow pusher load the cows into the management rail, because that's where we do our health checks on cows that have to be examined each day, because we have the computer system with the cow Fitbits that give us information, and we also have routine checks that we do. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to help the cow pusher, and I'm going to open the gate. Emma, we're going to let you take it away as we travel to barn 4.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to work on answering some more questions. But first, I'd like to pull up an aerial shot of the farm so you guys can kind of get a huge, big picture of what Elvi Farms looks like from the sky, to get an idea of how hard the team at Elvi has to work every day to care for all the beautiful bovines that are there. Right here, this is Elvi Farms. Starting right over near the driveway, entering from the road, would be the parlor where we started. Leading straight back from that is barn 1, where we have a group of lactating cows, or cows that produce milk. We then have barn 2, and right through that crossover, that's where the foot bath was, and barn 2, and then straight over into barn 3, where we have another group of lactating cows, and then all the way out to barn 4. Barn 4 is a little bit different, and the reason for that is, and Farmer George is going to get into this, is that's where we keep all of our cows that are expecting to have a calf, meaning they're due to freshen or give birth any day. So half of that barn is expecting cows, and the other half is cows that have just freshened or given birth. So pretty important for us to do that. Total on the farm, there are about 1,500 milking cows that are producing milk every day. And then you see some couple other barns up where you see the little black dots with some white. It almost looks like those are our bunk silos. So that's actually white plastic topped by tires where we keep all the feed for the cows. Yep, right up there. And then off to the left-hand side there, there's some silver top barns. Those are where all of our heifers or teenage cows live as well. We raise all of those on the farm. And then some of the barns right in the center are where we raise our calves or baby cows, if we're talking different age groups. So that is the entirety of Elvi Farms. And with that, we'll head back to Farmer George, because I think he's out in barn 4.
So here we are out in one of our newest, and we're kind of excited about this freestall barn, as we call it. This is our fresh cow and maternity barn, where the cows are getting very, very close to freshening, which is the same thing as giving birth. As Emma mentioned earlier, the birth of a calf is actually the start of milk production. So when a cow lactates, that means they're producing milk, and that starts with the birthing process. So this barn has a lot of really advanced features built into it for cow comfort, cow handling, cow nutrition, and also cow cooling and cow ventilation, and the amount of rest that a cow can get, because as a cow moves throughout the year and they go through the different production cycles, a cow needs some time to take a break, almost like a summer break, and be able to rest and relax. So we send them out here to barn 4 because that's what it was designed for. I want to focus on nutrition for just a second. And what we have here is a total mixed ration where everything is mixed together, kind of like a smoothie or a casserole, where you have your vegetables and you have your entrees, your side dishes, maybe even your dessert. The cows really love this stuff. And we have a separate diet for every group of cows. So no group of cows is fed the same. And we have a kind of like a registered dietitian. We have a dairy cow nutritionist that has lots of training and background that comes to our dairy farm once a week. They sample all the feed ingredients and have those ingredients tested for nutrients, so we know the nutrient value of every ingredient that goes into this total mixtration. There's probably 10 different foodstuffs, a lot of them homegrown: corn silage, haylage, cornmeal, soybean meal. Those are things we grow and produce here on the land. You can see there's lots of fiber in there. And the way the cow digests food, they need lots of fiber to have a healthy stomach. A cow has 4 compartments in their stomach. We'll talk a little bit about that later. We mentioned earlier that each one of our cows is kind of like a high producing athlete. And a high producing athlete has to have balanced nutrition, and they have to have the right amount of carbs, the right amount of protein, the right amount of recovery when they get done with an intense workout. So you can think of our cows the same way, and cows have to have fresh food and water. That's very important for the cows. So what we're going to talk briefly about right now, and we can see the automatic outside curtains. Maybe we could, yeah, this barn is automatically environmentally controlled. So we have automatic sidewall curtains that open in about 4 directions. They roll up from the bottom, they drop down from the top, and it's also a slider curtain where the top curtain slides past the bottom curtain. But we control the temperature, the air quality, and the humidity, which relates into the heat index for the cows. We have a computerized weather station outside of the building that determines precipitation and wind direction, which will turn we have chimney fans for proper air quality. And then we have the cooling fans. We also have the sprinkler system for summer use to keep the cows very, very cool. Almost like being at a water park, to cool the cows during those days of real hot weather. So we're going to keep moving, and what we have here in the center of the barn, we have the calving area. So we're not going to see a calf be born today, but that would be exciting. That'd be another tour for another day. Or if any of you have been to the birthing center at the New York State Fair, our farm participated in that this year. So we had 6 of our ladies down at the New York State Fair this year, and we participated in the birthing center down there. So the miracle of birth is an exciting thing to watch. That would be another video for another time. What we're going to do is move over to our nursery and show you some of the baby calves. So, but you can see the maternity office, and here's a first-time mother that just gave birth. So she's nicely recovering and getting some good nutrition. So one thing we want to talk about is the health and wellness of the calf shortly after birth. Uh, in order to um, take really good care of these newborn babies. And you can think of them as infants that were just born and they have no immune system when they're first born. So what we have to do, we have to milk the mother and collect the first milking, which is called colostrum, which is full of antibodies. And then we feed the newborn baby within 2 hours after birth. Um, the calf will consume um, 1 gallon of colostrum, and that gives the calf almost like a vaccination. It immunizes the calf. So all of these calves each day, as you can see, we got quite a few calves here today. These calves will be moved up to the group calf pen that we have. We have 4 different calf barns that have different pens in them, and they will be on an ad lib nipple bar feeding system, almost like a natural system where they can eat whenever they're hungry. So that's, we won't have time to go up there and see the calf barn, but this is our nursery where the calves are less than 24 hours old, and we take really good care of them when they're first born, because you have to think of them almost like an infant, and they are very dependent on our care in order for them to grow up to be healthy.
Farmer
So,
George, what are the blue coats they're wearing? We're getting a couple questions about those.
oh, good question. As we head into the fall, and just like you school kids, your parents would want you to wear a coat to school in case you go out on the playground and it gets cold. It's always good to have a coat on. So with these brand new babies, when the temperature starts to get below 60 degrees out, we put these coats on the newborn calves just to keep them very, very comfortable. To And as you can see, uh, they're loosely fit, so the calf, if the temperature does go up during the day, the calf doesn't get overheated. And then we monitor those coats, and when the temperature changes, we do take the coats off, and as the animal grows up, they will outgrow these coats, and then we will remove the coats. So it gets the calf off to a really good start.
So can you show us your heated calf room for the newest calves for when
We
it's really
can.
chilly?
So when the calves are first born in the cooler weather, we actually have a heated, this is kind of where we check the calves in. It's close to our office and close to the computer system. Uh, Shine the camera. We get a close up of our computer system over here. We don't have time to explain the computer system. Probably most of the students know more about computers than I do, but we do have a lot of computers to take care of the animals. And this is just where we put this room is heated so that we can make sure the animals get off to a good start, and uh, we also enter them into the computer here, because we want them to be very dry when the animal is first born. As you can imagine, it comes out wet and damp, and then we have to put it in the warm room in order to dry the hair coat, because once the hair coat is dry, the animal is going to be a lot warmer and a lot more comfortable.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. So we're getting quite a few questions coming in. So we have about 10 minutes left to our tour. So I'm going to ask some of these questions for Farmer George. And the first one up is how much do the newborn babies weigh?
Okay, that's a really good question. On average, on our dairy farm, the average calf that's born weighs about 88 pounds. Now, we'll have some that are a little bit smaller. They'll be down around 70 pounds. That would be a smaller calf. And then we have some really big calves. So we do weigh each calf, and we can you step off the scale? We have the scale here that we use to weigh the calves, and that's very important. Just like when a baby is born, you want to know how much it weighs, because that can.
Oh, his audio cut out just a little bit. So we'll wait for him to hop back on.
As they grow.
And the next question we have is how many babies are born per day?
Okay, on our farm, we have on average about 7 babies that are born every day. So that's a little bit larger than maybe an average farm. So, but we're kind of set up to be able to handle up to 15 births in one day. So anything less than 15 births would not be a problem for our dairy farm.
Great. So actually, I see you holding some manure solids there. So we did have a question come in about how do you fertilize the fields? Is it all cow manure that is used? And what are other uses for manure on the farm?
Okay, great question. Yes. And I wanted to focus on animal bedding because on a dairy farm with lots of animals, you want to keep the animals comfortable, dry, healthy, clean. You have to give bedding. You have to use animal bedding. If you're purchasing bedding from off the farm, it can be an expense, and it can also add to your nutrient load on the farm. So what we do is we recycle, and we use the waste from our cows to separate the fiber. We talked about the cow ration and the fiber and the 4 compartments of the stomach. Because cows are uniquely different, the waste from the cows, the cow manure, we're able to separate that, put it through a processing kind of a processing routine where we dry it, compost it, kill all the bacteria, mix it with hydrated lime, and it makes an excellent source of recycled animal bedding. And then we use the waste from the cows to fertilize the land to be able to grow the crops. So it's a lot of recycling, and it's very natural for the environment. So we do not use very little chemical fertilizer on our dairy farms. We do have to purchase just a little bit of phosphorus for some of the fields and some of the crop rotations, but we have enough nitrogen and, or I said that wrong. We purchase a little bit of potassium. We have enough phosphorus and nitrogen to grow all of our crops by using recycled cow manure as fertilizer. So it has value. So, and you can see our cow beds are a memory foam, very soft, but also very comfortable and memory resistant, so that over a 10-year life, the beds do not get hard. They stay very soft and comfortable for the cows. And as you can see, a lot of these cows are laying down resting. rest is very important for a high producing cow. And we like to have our cows get 12 to 14 hours of rest every day. And you can tell the cows are comfortable by the way they are laying. There's 6 different positions that a cow will lay in. And the cows right there are in one of the most comfortable positions. So that's an indicator of comfortable free stalls that are designed right and they're working right.
Can you drink milk from cows or do you have to clean it first? Great question. Like I said before, all milk is pasteurized, so heat it up and then cool down to ensure it is safe for our consumption. So that is what we do, but it's called pasteurization versus cleaning. We had a question come in. Why don't the baby calves stay with their moms when they're first born?
That is a good question. We get that question a lot, and it's almost like parents, working parents that have to go to work, and you might have your child go to daycare. It's somewhat the needs of the safety and the wellness of the babies. If we left them with their moms, they would be more susceptible to diseases because most of our cows are not potty trained. And if a calf comes in contact with the cow environment and they have very little immune system, a large percentage of our calves would get sick. And also the safety of the calves. If we separate the calf from the mother's able to go to work and do her business that she is designed to do and loves to do. And also the calf is very well cared for by our veterinarian and our calf staff here in our calf facilities. So we have very specialized facilities to care for the calves. So the calf is a lot healthier. We have less than a 1% sickness rate with all of our calves, which is an indicator of really well-managed calves that are very healthy.
Awesome. So we have a couple numbers questions. First numbers questions, how many team members or farmers do you have at Elvi Farms?
All right, that is a good question. And I don't know if we answered how many total cows we have, but we're milking
that's one of the questions too.
we're milking 1,750 cows, and we have about 30 full-time employees to take care of the land. We grow all of our own crops and take care of all of our own cows and our young stock, our heifers.
And then how many acres do you have? Someone asked.
Right. We have about 3,600 crop acres that we control and operate. 80% of that is owned. The other 20% we lease. So that's our total crop acres.
Awesome. And then we got a question. Do the cows get to roam outside? If not, why?
That's another really good question. We do not have our cows go outside anymore. We used to when the farm was a lot smaller, but the cows actually prefer most days out of the year, if the cow is given a choice, they're kind of spoiled and they actually enjoy being in a barn like this where we control the environment. So the cows are actually healthier and happier. And if you give them a choice and left the door wide open, most of the cows would stay in the barn on a hot day or a cold day. So it makes it easier to manage the cows if we keep them in the barn, because if we let a large group of cows out into a pasture on a rainy day, it would get a little bit muddy out there and the cows wouldn't be very happy.
Awesome. And then how many teeth does a cow have?
That is a very good question.
We seem to have lost Farmer George's connection there, and he's back. How many teeth did you say they had?
Okay, let me answer it this way. A cow does not have any upper teeth, so the upper palate in the front, and most people don't know this, the cow has no teeth on the upper palate in the front. So I think humans have 32 teeth, I believe, and a cow only has like 24 teeth. We'd have to Google that and get the right answer, but I think that's close. But that's a really good question.
Awesome. So I think we'll have two more questions, and I think this one's pretty interesting. How many calves does a mother cow usually have, and do cows communicate with each other? So that's a joint question there.
Okay, that's a really good question. How many calves does a cow have, and do cows communicate with one another? Let me answer the second question first, and that is absolutely yes. Cows are herd animals. They love to be in a group environment. They're not individual loners where they go off by themselves, almost like sheep, if you will. When one cow goes, they all go. There's comfort in the herd, protection, and it's kind of a nonverbal communication. Cows don't usually vocalize the communication a lot. They do sometimes vocalize, but most of the time it's kind of a nonverbal communication, and they do communicate with each other. And then the average cow would probably have 6 or 7 calves per lifetime on our farm, until we give them a career change, because at the end of every dairy cow's life, they kind of make a career change and they go from producing milk and they become a beef cow and they produce beef. So just like we have farmers that raise beef animals to be harvested for beef, that's what we do at the end of a dairy cow's life period.
Awesome. And then our last question of the day, I think this is a great way to wrap it up. Everyone's learned so much about the awesome things you do to produce milk. What companies use milk from Elvi Farms?
That is a good question. We ship our milk to a co-op called Dairy Farmers of America. We are members and owners of that co-op. It's a national co-op across the whole country. So our milk goes to here locally to produce yogurt for Giovanni. I'm sure some of you have heard of Giovanni. And then also Great Lakes Cheese down in Waverly, Pennsylvania, where they make soft cheeses and hard cheeses, is where our milk from this farm, and some of that goes into store brands. So pizza, mozzarella cheese for pizza, and it depends a little bit on the week of the year and where the needs are for the load of milk. We ship our milk to about 4 different locations depending on the week of the year.
Awesome. Great. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining. I don't want to take any more time away from your school day, although I'm sure Farmer George could talk to you all day. So with that, if everyone could just wave bye and thank Farmer George for all his time and all of his knowledge. And just a quick reminder, we will send out the recording to everyone that joined on today, and look forward to hearing more about our virtual farm tours for the spring as well. Thank you, everyone.